Hello and welcome to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. This is a platform where we get curious about all things gender, sex and sexuality, as well as feminism, the inclusive kind, mental health and kink, and all that makes us humans unique and diverse. From body positivity to body dysmorphia, it's all welcome here. Come with us on a journey of inclusion, acceptance and respect. I'm your host, Esther Lemons. I identify as a cisgender woman and my pronouns are she and her. In this episode, I'm speaking to Harry, which is spelled Harri, who was a couple of years into their gender journey when we recorded this conversation, which was on the 26th of January 2019. Harry's pronouns are they and them, and they identify as trans feminine and non-binary. Find out what that means to Harry in this episode. You may recognise the labels trans feminine and non-binary from the conversation with Kit in episode 1, but even though their labels are similar, their stories are very different. We also talk about the difference between gender identity, gender expression and sex, gender clinics and the medical transition process, the use of singular they and getting pronouns right, coming out of family, friendships, being a shy kid, and fitting in versus belonging. Now let's get into the episode. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
What's your name?
I am Harry Eloise Edward Nella.
Oh, nice to meet you. We've met.
Yes.
Okay then.
And you are?
I'm Esther. Nice to meet you. So how do you identify?
So, ideally, none of us would use labels in my view.
Course. Yeah.
But as what the world is, a bunch of labels are in place. For me, I use trans feminine, non-binary.
Okay.
For my gender identity.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of sex, that I sort of would identify as being intersex, but I suppose by most technical definitions as standing, I am male.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, this is really interesting because maybe we can elaborate on this a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things I've learned in in the last few years of meeting lots of gender diverse people is the difference between obviously sexuality and gender identity, but there's the other level which is physical sex. So that's yet again something different, isn't it?
Yeah, and there seems to be a lot of misconceptions and a lot of misunderstanding in official documentation. They'll say ask for a gender, but then they'll only give you male and female, which to me are sex describing words, not gender describing words. That
is such a good point.
For me, gender is like the internal sense of gender identity. That's the thing. We use gender short for gender identity, but there's lots of other things that gender expression, and that has lots of cultural implications. What it means to be masculine, what it means to be feminine, what it means to be androgynous. But so there's lots of different categories that are all spectrums. But we're kind of in a society which forces a binary based on sex, what biology you seem to have.
That makes sense.
In the most basic sense. It's what's the seen biology that seems to define everything from birth in our society.
Yeah, it totally does, doesn't it? So, I mean, the sort of labels you just used, did you say trans feminine?
Yeah, so trans feminine, non-binary. So
so what does that mean to you?
To me, like non-binary is another gender identity.
Okay. Like
man or like woman. It's like a sort of a third option to encompass those outside of being a man or a woman. But because there's so many different ways gender, like we've already said, is a spectrum, I then use trans feminine to further describe that. Trans just meaning was it away from what I was assigned with at birth, and feminine, I present and express myself, I feel more womanly, like close to a woman, but obviously I don't identify as a woman, otherwise I wouldn't be non-binary.
Yeah.
But so without wanting to enforce stereotypes, because what does a woman look like? For me, like, it's really difficult because I don't want to use language that enforces the stereotype. But as things stand, it's the easiest way to describe.
So that others understand.
So that others understand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, trans feminine. I love having long hair. I've always had my hair long. I've hated going to the hairdresser before I came out, because it was kind of put on me to have my hair cut short. And I just didn't like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this is a good sort of time to talk about, I mean, how you express yourself, or how you express your gender identity sort of in your daily life, and like, as you know, in a visual presentation kind of way.
So for me, like, I heavily express to match my identity. So see that the feminine part of my identity means I express what might be seen more typically as a woman. I wear breast forms because I can't yet grow my own breasts. I wear a sort of long-haired wig because being male, and my genes and hormones mean I suffer from androgenic alopecia, male pattern baldness.
Right.
So my hair has got to a state where I don't feel comfortable being my authentic self without a wig. Now,
Okay.
My natural hair, as someone would have it, isn't naturally me. My me is the wig. It is the breast forms. They are integral to who I am until I am in a position to fund surgeries and treatments to change those things.
Okay, yeah.
Because I sort of in hope that with like hormone therapy and potentially a hair transplant, like from my own head, to sort out the hairline so that I can grow a full head of hair naturally again, as natural as it would be from procedure.
Okay then. And are you starting hormone therapy, or have you started, or will you start?
Yeah, so I want to start hormone therapy to get rid of my testosterone or reduce that and have high estrogen levels and the rest of the typical sort of female hormone balance. At present, obviously, I'm not at that stage. I'm on a waiting list to go to a gender identity clinic.
Yeah. How long does it take? I mean, you're in the system, as it were, right?
I've been on the waiting list now 14 months, which was originally what I was told my waiting list time would be. But
has it changed now?
It has got longer while I've been on it.
Right.
But I wasn't informed. I only found out when I contacted them to update my address, moving about in life.
As you do.
You do, yeah. I changed my address with them and found out that my waiting list time had extended by 6 to 8 months. So at current time, obviously it's January 2019 at the moment. I expect to hopefully be seen sort of around November time this year.
It's a long wait.
It is.
And especially if you're thinking about this time, you know, if you were looking forward to, it would have been around this time that you were going to actually make progress. To
see the specialists, get my current hormone levels examined and be assessed to see what can be done to.
So that appointment was just an assessment. So you don't leave with a packet of hormones, right? You just get
not NHS. No, you as the system currently stands, you have 2 consultation appointments. One with the doctor specialising on like your physical health and position, and one assess your mental state. From my understanding of things. And then once you've had both consultations, then they'll evaluate whether you're eligible to even receive hormone therapy and
My God.
work out a treatment plan.
It sounds crazy, though. It's like so much depends on their, well, I'm not going to call it an opinion, obviously, their professional, opinion. But it's like, wow, that must feel quite daunting in a way.
Yeah, that my future depends on the perspective of a couple of other individuals' views on what I'm doing and how I should be able to be.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I know truly in myself now. I'm 23 years old, but it's only been over the last 2 years that I've really been sort of questioning and working out my gender identity.
Okay.
And so I say by the time I get to this consultation, I'll be just over 2 years of me working through my gender identity.
Okay.
If these professionals don't think that maybe I've come far enough, if my name change and change in presentation and being out at work, if not all of those things aren't enough for them to give me access to the hormones I feel I need to make my life easier, to live a more normal or more typical life where I'm not having to go to extra effort just to feel comfortable in the way I look, in the way I'm perceived. Because at the end of the day, I think the efforts I go to are for my own comfort, but that comfort sometimes is directly physical, but it's also a social comfort, how I'm perceived. And so from my perspective and my identity, some of my expressions are exaggerated. I've had comments from people who are less accepting of me that, to begin with, I forgot the word where you sort of walk, like how camp men walk, where you sort of not strut, alternate in front of you. I can't think of the words that was used against me now.
Oh, right. I'm not sure. Like the word strut would come to mind, but if that's not what it was, then I don't know.
Never mind. It'll probably come to me in a little while.
That's fine.
But I've had comments sort of assess how I've been progressing, and they're not constructive. It's made me think that I'm just being seen as a man presenting a caricature of a woman, as opposed to being seen as just a feminine person. And that hurts. And so evaluating the balance between exaggerating characteristics and feeling natural, so that you have a social comfort, that you get seen the way you feel you are. When people don't see you as you are, that hurts. And I don't know what more to say on that.
That's really
it hurts insightful. If you say you've told me you're Esther, if I continually called you George, you'd think you'd feel maybe uncomfortable, upset, confused.
Definitely confused.
You're not talking to me. Who are you talking to?
It's just disrespectful, really, isn't it?
It is.
That's all there is to it, to be fair. I mean, I find it's a crappy experience to go through. I think a lot of I don't know if it's misunderstandings and stuff. I think for a lot of people, it just comes from ignorance and not malice.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean it can't be hurtful. Like how they react and what they say. And I mean, what pronouns do you use, or pronoun?
So they, them pronouns are my pronouns.
Okay.
If I get she'd or her, that's okay. But if I get referred to as a he, him, a fella, lad, all these words, they're hurtful to me. Like, I'm not those things. And being referred to as such just makes me feel like I'm not seen as who I am. I'm being seen as
who they are, like who the perceiver is, like what they
But so, like you say, sometimes it's just coming from a place of ignorance and not understanding. Like sometimes, obviously, maybe things aren't clear. Like maybe I've not presented as feminine as I want to on a day because I'm maybe having a bad day. Like my makeup's not great, and so my natural skin tone and complexion comes through, and maybe I do look more like a man in makeup. But it's like if I've explained to someone how I feel, I can't see it's that difficult to just listen and try and internalize that. You don't have to remember. You already know how to use the language, like using other pronouns. You can use them. You've used them many a time before for various people.
Yeah.
Like if I've changed my name in presence, okay, sometimes like we slip up. We call people the wrong name. That happens even without trans people, like for cisgendered people.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I get pronouns wrong sometimes, and I spend a lot of time in the presence of gender diverse people. But I think, to me, it feels like almost people make a decision, as it were, and it's like a sum of all these different elements, like maybe physical characteristics, sound of voice, and all that stuff. And I think, even though we might not be sure, I think we then sort of lean towards one or the other, maybe automatically. I think maybe that happens automatically in your head.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of like if someone has even if a woman gets married, takes a married name, you have to learn that name and address them by that name because that's their name.
Yeah.
And if that's how they want to be referred to, then you do that because that's the done thing, really. And that's what they've expressed that, that's kind of part of their identity, I suppose, now.
Yeah, that's their new name. You don't go referring to them by their maiden name.
Just because that's what they were born with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, it's kind of no different than that. And go for it.
Along the same lines, like pronouns. And I've observed it many times with dog walkers. Like someone say, "Oh, that lovely dog. What's her name?" And it's like, "Oh, my dog's a boy."
It's a he.
Sorry, he. And correct themselves and move on.
People can do it with the dog. They can definitely do it with people, right?
Yeah. I've said, no, I'm not a he to someone. My pronouns are they.
Yeah.
No apology. Like, okay. And then I'll probably proceed to misgender me in future. Like, you literally, you can do it to correct yourself for an animal that
has no real feelings about it anyway.
Like the whole concept of gender probably means nothing in the perspective of an animal. We are putting that on our animals. But a person, and then suddenly, oh no, I know what I see, what I think, and I'm going to enforce that on you regardless of how you feel. And that's what I don't get. Where that's not coming from a place of ignorance at that stage, I don't think.
No, it doesn't sound like it, no. And I think to me, it's kind of like you're just learning, like when you meet someone, you learn their name, right? They have a first name, they have a last name. Sometimes, there's more to it.
Yeah.
But it's also about, and you learn that their pronouns. It's just one more thing.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, really. But I think maybe because of what our brain does is what I perceive the brain to do is kind of make an assessment or a judgment as like a sum of all these characteristics.
Yeah.
And it does still happen to me because I've known there's some like non-binary people that I know, and I've sometimes referred to them as she, and I thought, oh, that's not right.
Yeah.
And it just comes out of my mouth sometimes.
Yes. Oh yeah, no, I totally get like it is a natural human thing to do.
Yeah, it is just so binary. It's what we're used to.
Assess based on basic things, but I suppose there is in some sense a learning, like identifying.
Yeah.
This is based on a prejudice or a stereotype perspective. Realize that and then stop and take a moment before saying anything. And like I've been among groups of people that I've just met, some be non-binary, some binary gendered, and it's like, okay, I go to use a pronoun like, hang on, no, stop. I don't really know this person.
Mm-hmm.
What pronoun do I use?
Yeah.
So
I mean, what would you recommend? Like, you either go, would it be helpful if people went with a gender neutral pronoun to begin with, or would you rather be asked? How would you feel about that?
Like, that's the thing. Sometimes, because depending on the people you're with, if there are sort of some people maybe don't want to be asked their pronoun and want you just to use, but other people, it's really difficult to work out the situation where you stop and like ask him, sorry, I don't know your pronoun. What do you use? Because it's also, what do you prefer? What do you use? Like,
there's a subtlety there, isn't it?
There is.
One's kind of okay and one's kind of not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what I've been told is like, what pronoun do you prefer? Is kind of like
implying that it's not your actual pronoun. It's just
it's just maybe you're confused and that's what you're using right now. That's kind of the vibe maybe it has with it. So what would be a good way to ask? So what pronoun do you use? Yeah.
Like if I asked you, what pronouns do you prefer I use? It's like I've got no obligation to refer to you as she.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
no, but it's like, oh, you prefer she. So if I refer to you as he, would that be a problem? I mean,
well, it wouldn't be quite accurate.
Yeah. And if there was someone else with us and I was referring to about you to the person and said he, and they think of you as a she, then that's just going to cause another step of confusion.
True. Yeah.
So
Totally. Minefield of pronouns.
Yeah, human interactions are difficult. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, and I mean the they thing. I mean I know that confuses people as well because it's normally used in plural.
Yeah,
but still, it is quite.
It's been in the English language for at least 300 years.
It is a known
singular pronoun. Like,
right, yeah.
I'm referring to at the moment a fictional third person. I don't know their gender.
Yeah,
it's one person.
Yeah,
I've used a neutral pronoun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like there's a imaginary person. I've not he'd or she'd. Like, there isn't a person.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what their gender is.
Yeah,
but why would you'd use a neutral for someone you don't know, or if you're unsure, you're just referring to, you can use a neutral pronoun.
Mm-hmm.
Why can you not use it singularly for someone who you do know, who tells you they use neutral language for themselves?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, totally.
Gendered language can cause pain.
Mm-hmm.
It can cause upset. It can cause lasting harm to some people, because if you're not in a strong position of mind to deal with that, if you are really struggling with various dysphorias about your gender, and someone then refers to you the way that's not right, it can lead to just feeling invalidated, it dehumanized. Like, what you're saying has no meaning to that person. Like, what you feel has no, like, it just doesn't have any weight in their view. And when that person is family, it's really, really difficult.
Yeah, I'll bet. So, I mean, you've how long ago did you actually come out, as it were?
So, yeah, I've come out a number of times and in various ways now.
Okay.
And so it would have been about March time last year, I think.
So that's not very long ago. So, I mean, you just mentioned family. So have you had a difficult time with your family with this?
So, yeah, like, I don't know, it'd be longer than that. I can't recall now. It's been over, because I've done 2 Prides. Pride is in summer.
Yeah.
And I came out a few months before.
Before Pride. Okay.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Or 2.
So it might be just under 2 years ago?
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, anyway. So still not very long ago.
No.
The bigger scheme of things.
Relatively, like, yeah. I was 21 at the time. I'm 23 at the moment, so. And initially, I came out to I refer to her as my stepmother. My father and her are not married, but for convenience sake.
Yeah.
And it yeah, that wasn't really planned as such, me coming out.
Kind of just happened.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like the night before, I was washing up, and again, not really stepsister,
Yeah.
was drying up, and I think we had some music on, and I expressed that the singer Brendan Urie was rather attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this stepsister, being who she is, at some point between then and the following evening, speaks to my stepmother about thinking that I'm gay.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the stepsister just likes to tattletale about whatever and cause chaos.
Yeah.
And so that then obviously brought up the discussion about sexuality. And from that, I was like, well, I'm not really a sexual person. I'm not sexually attracted. I can find people attractive. And then that just led on to me saying that I'm not a man, I'm not a woman, kind of. I can't, like I say, nearly 2 years ago now, sort of details are hazy of how it went, but it was not a fun experience because the stepmother is completely new to her, something outside the binary. That's got to be a made-up thing. That's not real.
Yeah.
You're just seeking attention or whatever it was.
And they maybe, even if they have heard of it, they then assume they know what it means, but they don't realise it means something different to every person.
Yeah. So, it's like, I've explained how I feel, and then it's like, no, this is what this means. And it's like, you've literally never heard this word before, and you're already forcing your own perspective onto it. Like, you're seeing it from a certain way, and then the following day, because of my father shift work, like, he wasn't about that evening, and so the following day while I was at work, the stepmother and father obviously talk, and then I have to do the whole coming out to my father thing that following evening.
Kind of because you were forced to.
Yeah. I kind of, it just, that the way things panned out, things get spoken about to each other without the presence of others, and so you're kind of forced through situations, and that all suddenly become very much. And at that time, I was still questioning and learning. I hadn't really had room to experiment and find what it meant, because I didn't, at that point, I don't think I even really had any typically women's clothes or anything. Like, I had no makeup. I hadn't really even played with my expression.
Yeah.
I'd only sort of worked things out in my head, sort of looking back through early years of my childhood, things that I did, which I might elaborate on later.
Okay.
And I was, I suppose at that, when I came out, it'd only been maybe a month or so that I'd sort of been learning words, reading things up online after seeing the BBC Three documentary Queer Britain, of which the 6th and final episode in that had non-binary people from Norwich.
Yeah, that's right.
Shown, and I was introduced to these new words and sort of kind of connected.
Something clicked.
Like. Something felt right. Like, when I thought, hang on, that's kind of how I feel. I need to understand more. What's going on? Like, this is weird.
Tell me more about this.
Yeah.
Magical non-binary.
Yeah. And so obviously that did lead to me looking things up online, reading sort of forums and stuff. And so when I was trying to argue my case, as it happened to be, with my coming out. Coming out to begin with was arguments like, this is my gender, and it's like, oh, you're just reading things online, you're being persuaded by the internet, and you're just talking nonsense, making things up for attention. And it's like,
make your mind up.
No, I know how I feel. Just listen to me. But no, the parent figures are not the kind that are accepting and explore that. I know my mum would have been, but unfortunately she'd passed away it would have been about 6 months before, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I think maybe I'm also from like my father and stepmother's perspective, it's like maybe this is a part of an emotional response to losing my mum, that I'm now wanting to be her in a sense, saying that I'm feminine, like, I don't know. I this is now then speculation on
they're making assumptions, right? Even though you're saying, look, this is how I feel, they'll be like, no, this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell?
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
And so that was difficult, not having support and me really not knowing what to do. And so I was just reading things online, and then found out that rewatched the last episode of Queer Britain and realised actually that that's a group they're meeting up in Norwich. How do I contact this group of non-binary people?
Yeah.
But then also the courage to do, like, I struggled through without being particularly sociable for most of my childhood. I was always one to stay shut away in my room, probably because I didn't feel like connected to peers at high school and things, because I didn't fit in with the boys. I didn't fit in with the girls. I wanted to fit in with the girls. But to an extent, school was kind of like, friendship groups were very gender binary segregated in my high school experience. And obviously there were friends that sort of both the binary genders interacting as well, but I very much didn't feel I ever properly fitted in. I'm a very nerdy type, and I liked my schooling, and I always thought that I didn't fit in because I was just really into my studying, and I was just a shy person.
Right. I can relate to that story a lot, because I felt like I was quite an awkward child, always wanting to, I thought I wanted to fit in, but I think what I really wanted to do was to belong somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's a difference there, isn't there? Because fitting in, a lot of that depends on other people and their perception of you, and maybe you trying to please them and changing yourself, whereas belonging is like being who you are and finding weirdos like yourself, from my point of view. Do you know what I mean? Because I felt like a weirdo.
And that
totally,
that was it. So I kind of identified with being just a shy person as a younger child, and through my teen years.
Okay. But you never made the connection with gender. You just thought you were shy.
Yeah, this is what I've been told, through family parties and stuff, and things that you kind of don't have a choice to avoid when you're a child. You like it and lump it, as a phrase used a number of times to me. And that was like my parents apologising to other family, like, sorry about me, that just shy, and so. That was the only thing I kind of knew, that I was told I was shy. This is my experience.
That's how you're perceived by
I'm
by
just
others.
a shy person.
The thing is, why would you have to apologise for someone being shy? What's wrong with being shy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
again,
nothing.
Yeah.
for one, aside. But still,
again, that mainly my father rather than my mum. But I think, it is just more of a general lack of confidence that I wasn't myself.
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was. I just kind of felt that I had to be this I was like, I don't know who I am. I'm just going to go along with the me that I'm experiencing at the time.
Yeah.
And that was shut in my room, play computer games, escape, a lot of escapism, listening to trance music and sort of fantasy games and puzzle games, just to not interact with people. I wouldn't play multiplayer computer games. I would always play single player adventures where I can just escape. It was not thinking about me, what's really going on.
Okay.
But then looking back through puberty and that, when I get washed in the bathroom, pressing sort of my chest together to form a cleavage and tucking genitals between my legs so that I couldn't see what I have.
Yeah. How old were you then?
I'm guessing, this would have probably been from sort of early puberty, and puberty hit me sort of early, so I was 11, 12, first sort of years of end of primary school, beginning of high school.
Yeah.
My voice broke by the end of the first year of high school, I got the nickname Voice of God because of my deep voice. In PE was awkward because obviously the PE uniform wore shorts, and I had really hairy legs. So whenever the rest of my class, I'm at my high school, the PE groups were sorted at the beginning of the year by running lap around the main field, and the first 30, the fastest 30 boys were in a group, the fastest 30 girls were in a group, second fastest of each of those were sorted, and then everyone left was in a mixed group. Right. And I was in the mixed group, so which was nice because why did there have to be the segregation in the things?
Totally. So, I mean, what was puberty like for you then? So did you still not make the connection? Like, I don't want to say that there's a whole, did you think you're in the wrong body? Because that doesn't always apply, does it? So that,
because like that. But like I said, like, I didn't know my gender, really. Like, I don't think, I feel looking back that there were definitely times I said, I'm not a boy.
So you knew that didn't quite fit.
And I kind of knew I was not a girl.
Yeah. But
I didn't have any language to express
what you were,
what I was. Like non-binary might have not been in use. I don't really know when that actually sort of was coined by someone to describe their gender identity. But yeah, like, as a sort of counter argument I've had to deal with when I was coming out to my parents is that it's a made up thing. It's like, well, all language is made up at some point. But that's a whole other argument part of things that I didn't want to deal with. But yeah, I kind of, I guess, just went along with the idea that I was a boy, but I was just not I was a sensitive and shy boy. I didn't feel that. I felt sensitive. I felt shy. But I don't think I really felt like a boy. I just kind of got on and accepted things. Like, thankfully, I enjoyed Lego sets and things like the presents I was given. I just enjoyed. I didn't feel like sort of affinity towards wanting Barbies and dresses, but then I don't think I had any objection to that. Most of my friends when I was a child were girls. Like, my mum and my father split up when I was 5, and so I lived mostly with my mum, and then her partner at the time had 2 daughters of his own, who were a year and a half, or like 2 years younger than me, with like, for a certain time of the year would be consecutive ages, and then there'd be the gap of the year at different points. So, but they'd only come weekends. But me and I call them sisters, not stepsisters, even though, again, they never really were. Like, my mum and this man never got married. I did consider him, actually, I considered him a stepdad. I considered the 2 girls my sisters, and we got on and had fun and played together, and I guess things were probably a bit gendered for us, like, at that point, but we just kind of got on and didn't really care or have any thoughts about it. We'd all climb trees, we'd all play with like Lego together, and we just had fun. But then as you grow older and sort of puberty comes along, I never felt wrong-bodied, but looking back at things, there were clearly signs that I wasn't happy with how my body was. Like the Voice of God thing, I kind of just went along, and like, it felt like a funny thing at the time. Like, just sort of everyone was kind of laughing at it, and I don't know what, like, they're laughing at me. I kind of at that with those. They were people I considered my friends, even though I never felt they considered me their friend. And this is an experience I definitely had. Like, people I considered friends, I never felt that they considered me friend.
Interesting.
Because it felt like they would have meetups and get together, and I wouldn't be invited.
Okay.
At school, we'd all hang out together, and it would be okay. But then things outside of school, like, they'd talk about things they've done together outside of school, at school, and it's like, I'm not there. Do I not? But I couldn't vocalize that. Like, it was all just internalizing for so long, because I was just awkward and shy, and I didn't know how to address these things and my concerns. And so yeah, I got on just a very quiet childhood, not really socializing outside of the forced interactions of the educational system.
Yeah. So, I mean, things have obviously changed since you found the non-binary group and everything. And I mean, what's your home situation like now?
So, yeah, about a year ago, I left my father and the stepmother because there was no signs that things were getting any better in accepting me there. They had various, what I call excuses, what they had called reasons, of my half-brother, who was 8 at the time and is on the autistic spectrum and struggles socially. And the parents were very much like, I can't present authentically because that will confuse and scare my half-brother. And I don't think it would have done.
I think of anything that he would have probably been more accepting than anyone.
Yeah,
to be honest.
So. Yeah.
I'm saying obviously we don't know.
No, we don't.
Every autistic person is different as well.
Yes.
But yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
For the bits of toying with my expression I managed while I was there, like having earrings in and my nails painted and wearing like a headscarf. When Jack saw those things, he just laughed and said, I looked like a pirate. He wasn't scared or offended.
Yeah.
But as soon as the stepmother saw me, I was instructed to go upstairs and take all that off immediately, or stay in your room.
Wow.
And so at that point, 21 years old, I was basically told, I want to be myself, you have to stay in your room. And you saying about the non-binary group, I eventually got in contact with them after I went to see a GP. I found out about Gender Clinic, and so I was like, I need to get on the waiting list.
Yeah, get in the system.
So I went to the GP and like, what else can I do in the meantime? And my GP was like, I don't know anything about being non-binary. If it's all new to me, let's do a Google search together. And so my GP spent a bit of time and looked online and found exactly the same thing I had found online, which was a list of trans-related support material sort of in the Norfolk area.
Okay.
And listed on that was various contacts of what the non-binary group, I don't think was actually on there, but because that's a Facebook sort of bound thing.
Yeah.
But I sort of was sort of instructed, because I think I mentioned that to the GP. Like I said, I can't remember, this was now over a year ago, and lots has happened in a past year.
Yeah, I bet.
So I kind of got the confidence or the desperation to send
bit of both.
yeah a message to like, hey, I think I'm non-binary, can I meet up with you people to discuss that? And so I got accepted into the group without really any questions asked, and
lovely.
made it to a meetup, and it just felt like you said it earlier, you just kind of a welcome, you fit, you're not having to make do to get acceptance, you're just accepted.
Yeah.
And it was so nice, and I felt just really happy.
Cool.
And
that's great though, love that.
And so that monthly meetup has been something I've not missed one since, like an exception, but
yeah. So I think it's just really great that you found a place where you feel like you can be yourself, and
it's led to me sort of reevaluating things. I'm not an introverted person. I always thought like I was shy and that I was an introvert, but no, I just wasn't me.
Right. And then how can you connect with others when you're not you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, there's a disconnect. Well, obviously there's a disconnect there, isn't there?
Yes. And so it's been odd to see that. And then reconnecting with sort of friends from that I sort of grew up with through like my mum sort of friends. And then sort of reconnecting since my mum passed away with those people, and them seeing such a dramatic change, and like, you seem much happier and just alive. I wasn't living before, I was existing. And since I worked out my identity, I get to live. And
yay! Yay!
The funny thing is, sort of bringing it back to my father, is that when I was younger and I was living with my mum and I would see my father on a pattern of weekends because of the shift work, every time I would sort of see my father, there would always be nags that you need to socialise more, you need to get a life, get a hobby. And when I came out and was like, hey, I've got this group of people that I can hang out with and feel like I fit, suddenly that was the issue, because these people are going to further they're going to bias.
They're going to corrupt you.
Yeah. Make you believe
make you even more confused.
Yeah. And believe this thing that isn't real. And it's like, well, it is real. It's not just my experience. There's a bunch of other wonderful people who are all saying that's their experience. But
it's probably, if someone is not open to that, you can show up at their front door with a whole group of you, and then he would still be like, no, there's no one here. No, I don't see anything. You know, it would be like, so besides your family, which is obviously, you know, not very helpful in the phase you're going through, which sucks.
Yeah.
But I mean, how have your friends been? How's it been at work? What's that been like?
Yeah. So reconnecting with high school friends was kind of an important thing. When I first started coming out, some of the girls I was sort of more closely thought, more the ones I thought were more my friends than the ones that I thought didn't consider me a friend, I sort of reconnected with them all. And we met up after like 5 years of not seeing each other. We'd done sixth form and they'd started doing uni. I'd been at work and we finally all sort of met up again. And I was presenting more. Well, I don't know if I did present closer to Authentic the first time we met up, because I think at that point I still didn't really have much. I think I might have had my breast and a wig and some clothes, but I wasn't able, because at that time I would have still been living with the parents, father and whatnot. And
so you didn't really have a chance to.
I wasn't able to leave.
Get dressed as you wanted and put makeup on at home
because
to
I
then
wasn't
go
allowed
out
of my room in being myself.
Right.
I could only leave my room if I was pretending to be the person they saw that I should and was.
Yeah.
And obviously meeting up, you can't really get changed and get ready elsewhere. And so, I think so. Sort of meet up, but I sort of expressed how I felt, and they were all really lovely. And it's like, okay, cool, you're one of us girls now.
Yeah.
And that was really nice. And but because obviously they were only back for summer holidays or whenever it was, I think it would have been summer holidays at that point potentially. But we met up a few times, but then they're back at uni. I work, so I can't meet up like the summer holidays because I work a full-time job, Monday to Friday kind of thing. And so I didn't get to see them that much, and then everyone busy with lives. And so we haven't really had sort of that close friendship that I kind of need. I've got, obviously, at this point, the non-binary, that's once a month meetup, start making friends, but it's just chatting to people you don't really know at that point.
Yeah.
And it takes obviously a while to build friendships and things. And there's not really been anyone that I can just hang out with on a frequent basis, sort of on my outside of work time, because everyone has busy lives. We're adults now. It's like it's difficult, and that's kind of the thing I feel I need at times, is just to be able to meet up with people and just hang out more frequently, and people want to spend time with me, and so that I'm not the one that makes the effort. That's always been the case. And another thing why I never felt like I was considered a friend to the people I considered friends is because I'd always have to instigate anything. If I wanted to be involved, I'd have to make the effort to do that. And it's like, why am I not invited along when they're instigating things? Why am I not getting messages to start things? And so I did feel very sort of outcast and still sort of thinking kind of that introvert at that time. It's like, it's really exhausting to try and make connections with people who don't make the same effort. And so there would be prolonged periods of time where I would feel isolated. my only social interactions were those sort of forced upon me through routine work interactions, and there's outside of that, I just had an existence. There wasn't a life. And that's definitely changed considerably over the past year, but there's still remnants of that.
Of course, it's a process though, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
I think, do you feel like as you become more yourself, it all kind of becomes easier? You make connections with the right people who then involve you, rather than, like you say, that old pattern of you having to organize stuff and reaching out and things.
I think it does help. And I think friendships can be more genuine when you're yourself.
Absolutely.
There's not going to be a genuine friendship if you're kind of just living a life that isn't right, whether that's by sort of choice because of the circumstances, or whether it's unknowingly because of not realizing what was going on. It's a weird one, but it makes a difference just being able to be yourself. But there's like the two sides of comfort. There's the internal comfort with that, but then there's the external comfort of socializing with people where your expression of gender, whatever it is, isn't an issue. It's not even it's a non-issue, or it's not even a thing that's considered. It's just, hey, we just and I think that's sort of the most sort of important thing, is being with people, especially when you're working things out, is spending time with people where it's a non-issue, because then you can just enjoy yourself thinking about other things. Like I was saying about me and my sisters, like we'd just get on and play and do things with whatever was going on.
Trees.
Climb trees or build Lego sets, or I think like the time just play with the Lego figurines and tell little stories, and almost as if it was like a dollhouse kind of thing, but we built it first and then we created stories and things and playing with the figurines. So whatever these activities that would have been gendered by some people, like seeing their children do these things, it's like, well, that's a gendered activity and that's a gender. It's like, well, no, we're not thinking about that. We're just having... Well,
children are definitely not thinking about that unless they get told to, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like a lot of the room to explore, like I didn't explore my gender before, because when I was living with my mum and that side of things, I didn't need to. Like, my gender wasn't ever made an issue. So it would have been actually maybe in some way better if there had been a bit more kind of gender force for me to realise who I was sooner. I'm happy with how things have gone. I'm grateful for the past I have, because that shaped me who I am now. I wouldn't want to change any of that, but sort of looking at it, how things can go, it's kind of, there are a lot of things I'm struggling with now, which would have been better if I'd have been able to address them sooner.
I bet.
Like puberty, okay, that happened and it didn't feel wrong for the most part, but looking at it now, it's like, actually, that wasn't right.
It wasn't right either. Yeah.
And like a lot of things, most things, they don't have to be black or white. It can be not right and not wrong and still be a thing. Like there are people who are not men and not women. They have a gender identity. Like there's all these things. It's not black and white. And when sort of people think and are so regimented in black and white and force that upon you, it's exhausting, because you either have to fight the oppression or have the strength to ignore it and not let it affect you, or I don't know what other options there are really. You either try and fight it and get I hesitantly say truth across, because even this experience is still subjective. I don't think there is any necessarily objective truth in any of this. We all make our own experience. We all live lives and hold things to have meaning, but don't want to necessarily delve that philosophical side. That could end up getting quite deep.
It's another episode. So, I mean, do you have any to finish up our conversation? Do you have any advice for people who maybe are in the position that you're in, or who are, who have maybe friends or relatives that are in the position that you were in?
Yeah, It's difficult to give advice because I've only got my experience to go on. Everyone's experience is different. The people you interact with shape things greatly, and it's hard to judge what the right thing or the best thing or what to do anyway, regardless of whether it's the right or best thing at that time for you. Stay true to what you believe, I think, and you have to take care of yourself before you can really properly consider what other people. If you end up allowing yourself to get really distressed, or you're not going to be able to make differences you might want to see. Focus on what makes you happy to begin with, and then work out the rest later. Or once you're better equipped, because things will work out. And I've become a very firm believer that things do work out the way they're supposed to. Like, I haven't touched on my year of homelessness in London at all through what we talked today, and that isn't an experience I'd wish on any 15-year-old.
Wow, no.
But it happened to me because I was running away from taking responsibility, and I ended up in a situation where I had to take responsibility. And for my own actions, and for a bit for what was going on around me. Like, my mum was struggling with various things at that time as well, and we looked out for each other, but it was shaped through looking out for ourselves first to be able to help each other.
That makes sense.
And that was something Mum really struggled to do. She was always looking out for other people first, and she was getting herself in a worse and worse state. And so I knew I was in an okay position. I looked out for myself, so I was able to look out for my mum when she wasn't looking out for herself. And that led to the situation to an extent. But then when she was able to then look out for herself, she was then able to look out for me again when I needed her. And things have worked out. Like, okay, not everything works out, but we all make our way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You can find out more details on the website at 50shadesofgender.com/Harry, HARRI, where you can also read the transcript. Thank you for listening to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. You can find us online at 50shadesofgender.com and on social media. If you like what we're doing here and you want to support us, you can do so by becoming a patron on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/50 Shades of Gender. We hope you will listen again. Until then, stay curious and open-minded.